We've got yet another amazing rivalry game for you here as the Philadelphia Eagles fly to Dallas, who are looking for some major revenge and are only one game back from the Philadelphia Eagles in the division hunt for the NFC East, which is absolutely major right now. Because if we look at the division standings, Eagles are at number one right now with that very important bye week at 10-2. 49ers and the Lions are tied at 9-3. Niners are number two. The Detroit Lions are number three. Atlanta Falcons are dominating the NFC South at 6-6, and the Cowboys are the number one wild card spot at 9-3. So very huge, a lot of major playoff implications here as well. The Niners are rooting for the Cowboys in this one, even though actually they have, they have the win advantage over both those teams as of right now. So very interesting. Both conferences have some very fun dynamic when it comes to like what can happen over these next 5 weeks for the playoff games. But
Yeah.
this is the second time these two teams have played so far this season. Eagles won their first matchup just barely. It was a great back and forth matchup, 28-23, if I'm not mistaken. And if I remember that thing about that game, Ryan, the Cowboys, literally when you want to talk about a game of inches, like
Oh yeah.
they were just like both of us in college, just a couple inches short, multiple times.
I'll leave that one to you, that analogy. But there really was a few. I think there were three separate potential touchdowns for the Cowboys that were,
Yeah.
like you said, just a few inches short, like us in college. And so that was that's just a hard defeat to swallow. I do think this Cowboys offense has actually improved since then. Whereas I feel like since that game specifically, we have seen the Eagles maybe get, I don't want to say exposed a little bit, but we've just seen this Eagles pass defense specifically kind of uh, be shown that it's not as good as it was last year and that the secondary is aging and needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Just so since then, they gave up 21 to the Chiefs, or I'm sorry, 17 to the Chiefs, then 34 to the Bills, and then 42 to the 49ers. And so it's just going to be interesting to kind of see how they go about attacking, how the Cowboys go about attacking this very poorly ranked Eagles pass defense, which is third worst in the NFL.
Yeah. No, the pass defense to me, I'd kind of been just fine. And it probably then still is. I mean, if you go look at the Bills and the 49ers, I mean, they're some of the best passing offenses in the league right now. Then they're going to be going against the Cowboys, who statistically are actually better than them. But one of the things, too, I want to get your thoughts. I remember last year, the Bills, we were talking about like the Bills team. They feel like they weren't the same Bills team from 2021 that made that AFC Championship run. Just in the second half of the year, they just started to fade. Just seems like there was just something off and clicking. And I'm starting to kind of get similar vibes with this Eagles offense as well. Like, still have all these weapons, still super explosive. Don't know if it's an offensive line thing. Don't know if it's just breaks aren't going their way, or if they're just a little off kilter or whatnot. But even then, that Bills game, they got off to a slow start. And here, let me pull up the schedule here. Niners got off to a slow start, ended with a slow start as well. And so then the Chiefs game got off to a slow start. And then the Cowboys game right before their bye also got off to a slow start. They were down at halftime going into that game, but the 2 touchdowns in the third quarter is what then put them up to 28 points, and they were able to hold it till then. So they're just seems like they're just constantly in a grind, and they have a really tough schedule as well. Also give them credit, but they haven't had that like breather of a game, it seems like. And they're playing the Giants, Cardinals, Giants to end the season, so that might be their breathers, that all the breathers that they need for the game. But this one, though, I think it's going to be huge for them. They're going to need to grind out another victory here going to Dallas. Dallas has played extremely well at home, especially then too after they were able to grind out a good win against the Seahawks on Thursday night here. So, what do you think then the Cowboys are going to bring to the table outside just their passing game? You think that's really going to throw the Eagles some fits?
So the thing for me is, I think you look at when the Eagles have struggled. It's, I think, mostly when they've played teams with good pass rushers. So even going back to week 1 against New England, Matt Judon was healthy. He had a sack and a few pressures in that game. And then they had a pretty easy game against the Vikings, the Buccaneers, and Commanders there. The Rams, I think Aaron Donald might have given them some fits. But then I really think you start to look at the Cowboys game. They were held to 28 points. And then the Chiefs have a really good pass rush with Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and they were held to 21 points in that matchup. And then last week, the 49ers really got after Jalen Hurts. And I think when you look at teams in the league that have one of these top pass rushes, Cowboys, 49ers are probably at the top of that list with the weapons that they have on the defensive side of the football. And so I think that's going to be a pretty big factor in this game. Another thing too, Jalen Hurts has not been nearly as protective of the football this year. I believe is he 10, yeah, double digits, 10 interceptions. And I don't think I think the Cowboys are in the top 5. Deron Bland has 5 pick sixes alone. So
Yeah.
I feel like they have to be at the top in terms of turnovers.
I think to add on to that as well, then he has to, according to Pro Football Reference, 7 fumbles. Now, I don't know if all those are turnovers or if it's just.
If it's total fumbles or fumbles lost.
I think it just says fumbles.
Okay.
So, which is kind of a big deal. And so, but I can see your point just about the overall protectiveness. I feel like I do.
I think that's total fumbles. Sorry, because ESPN has 4 fumbles.
Perfect. Yes, I think it's just total. I want to take a step back though too, because if you're still with us in this video and you're Eagles fans, thank you. Because I don't want to come off as we're bashing.
No,
the
still
Eagles.
The top 5
They're still one of the top. I mean, they're probably the second or third ranked team. I mean, they've like if you go through, they beat the Chiefs at the road, on the road. And so they beat some really good teams so far. They beat Miami handedly. I thought that was a good matchup. They've turned out to be a good Vikings team. This was earlier on in the year. They beat a good Buffalo Bills team before they were able to grind out a victory. They're able to find a way to win, which is huge. I think maybe from what we saw last year, which was almost seemed like a perfect Eagles team, they just fell short. Now you're starting to see the little chinks in the armor. It's maybe we've just been so spoiled with how good this offense has been here. Yeah. And the Cowboys at the same time, I feel like I haven't seen the Cowboys play this well. I feel like in a really long time. I feel like they've been really good. They've been able to win games, but there's just something about this team. I think you can make the argument the addition of Brandon Cooks, maybe more of the West Coast style offense instead of trying to be more balanced, throwing the ball a lot more. And they have all these speedsters and speedsters isn't the right word. Just facilitating the ball to a lot more people outside of just CD Lamb, so to say. But that being said, though, that's going to hinder them, I think, overall in their traditional running game. I think they're going to need to go put up another 400-plus yard offensive performance as they did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I do want to. So I want to touch on the Eagles. We're comparing this team to one of the best defenses we've ever seen in the NFL, and one of the most efficient offenses we've ever seen in the NFL, which was both last year, right? They had a 70-sack defense.
Yeah,
playing in coverage behind a 70-sack defense, almost you and I could do it. And then on top of that, I think Darius Slay, that was probably his last good year, maybe in the NFL, where he was really good. Because I think he's approaching mid-30s now. And then the Cowboys, I do want to give Mike McCarthy a little bit of credit here, because I do think he has schemed up a good offense. I definitely think it helps when you have the weapons that he does. Like if you're in a street race, it helps to have a Ferrari, right? And I think they have a Ferrari in CD Lamb, and Brandon Cooks, I think, is a fantastic complementary piece. And then Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonmaker at the tight end position, Michael Gallup and Tony Pollard are also great weapons to have. And then Dak's having a really good year as well. So it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm very, very excited for this one, but let's go ahead and get into our predictions. So but before we do that, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I, we have a unique goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers by the end of this year. That would put us at 2,000 subscribers within a calendar year. So if you could help us reach that goal, we would very much appreciate that. And Tyler, I'm going to throw it over to you. Who do you have coming out ahead in this matchup?
So it's going to be a great game back and forth. I can see either of these teams winning this game, but I know Jalen Hurts didn't play in last year's Dallas game. I know Gardner Minshew was the quarterback, But I just have a feeling the vibe of this game is going to be very similar to last year. Going to be very high scoring, a lot of explosive plays. And I think Dallas is going to pull this one out as well as it was last year. You go look at the game from a couple weeks ago. You can make a serious argument they should have won that game if it was literally just a couple inches that went different way, if the ball crossed the goal line or not. A lot of different things could have happened in that game for the Cowboys to come out victorious here. And I think being on the road, I think it's just going to sway just a little bit towards the Cowboys direction. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one and an absolute barn burner. Honestly, I'm going to go something like 41-38. I think that's what the score was last year, actually. So,
yeah, I'm also going to go with Dallas here. I don't want to say that I think Dallas is going to blow them off the field. But with how this offense is clicking, I think some of the miscues that the Eagles were having on the offensive side of the ball, this is not a get-right game. This is not a game you want to be going into and trying to figure things out on the offensive side of the ball because Dallas right now has things figured out. And you, I think, need to prove to yourselves as much as everybody else that this is still a top-flight offense in the NFL. And just looking at matchup-wise, Dallas, they don't have the strongest run game, but they have kind of adapted what you call running through the air, where they just complete these like really highly efficient
like screen plays or quick slants or something
shallow
like that.
Crosses and things like that. And where I still think they get the same effect of running the football. And with that being said, they're still efficient in running the football. They just haven't run for a lot of touchdowns. I think they've only run for like 7 or 8 touchdowns this entire year. And I know they're in like the bottom third of the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
11.
They run for 11.
No, they're actually in the top third. They're 12th.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm wrong.
They're tied. They're tied for 11th.
Okay. And so maybe I'm thinking of just Tony Pollard in general. Maybe Dak or somebody else has run for more.
Yeah.
And so that to me, I just think this matchup favors Dallas a lot. I think they have the better offense on defense matchup, especially with how poor Philadelphia's pass defense has been, especially as of late. So we're both picking the Cowboys. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Help Tyler and I reach that goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. And leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this heated NFC East rivalry. Is it going to be the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it going to be the Dallas Cowboys? And that we'll see you guys next time.